I have literally just finished a live and these cakes were made on a live. So if you're a beginner who is looking for a beginner friendly vanilla cake recipe that is made without margarine or butter, stick with this video because I'm going to talk you through everything you need to know. These yield very well with a light texture. The crumb is super light and nice, yet this cake is made for stacking. So you can stack this into a layered cake that yields well with great texture, great mouthfeel, and the results are amazing. Let's get straight to the live and see what we have on there. For convenience, I am going to be employing my stand mixer. But before we get the stand mixer back on show, I'm going to talk you through the ingredients I am going to be using here. I have an adaptable sponge cake recipe, which is the vanilla sponge cake recipe that I am going to be using. But the only difference is that I am employing a different kind of fat as the base. Like I said, we'll see how that affects the results in the end. The ingredients we have on the table include caster sugar. We have some eggs, which is broken. I break and weigh my eggs before use. I have self-raising flour. This has no plain flour in it. And as a note, you will realize we don't have any rising agent added here. In the UK, self-raising flour does have rising agent. So the use of self-raising flour alone means that I do not get to use the baking powder or baking soda or what have you. That's a question I get a lot, and that is the reason here. Now, I have some milk into which I have some vinegar. It's sort of the equivalent of homemade buttermilk, but it's not buttermilk. The vinegar, which is an acid, reacts with the milk. What it does is that it tenderizes the gluten and helps me yield a very light textured bake. I mean, the result of a light textured fluffy cake that still has structure is a case of science and technique, and I am combining both. Make sure all your ingredients are at room temperature, and of course the fat option here is I have half a portion of vegan block here and half a portion of bacon block. Now, a quick conversation about why I am using this option. It is simply because that's what I have available, and this recipe is really adaptable. Is it leaning onto a vegan bake here? No, that's because we have eggs over here. So there you have it. Check the description box for some of the information surrounding the baking block and margarine. Can one be better than the other? It's neither here nor there. It's a case of your own goals, what your outcomes for the bake is going to be. And for this, it's actually what I'm aiming for, just to get myself a nice lovely bake whilst also running through the experiment of how extensively adaptable the recipe is. So I'm just going to move the ingredients to the side and we'll get the mixer back in short. And like I said, for the quantity and ingredients here, you can definitely employ a hand mixer, but for convenience I am going for the stand mixer. Now let's plug the mixer in and get on to the bake. With the mixer here, we're getting our fat in here. I will put all the details you need in the description box as well when we are done, and also check the community post where I will also post the ingredient details for you. We have the sugar and baking fat in there. We're going to cream this for 4 to 6 minutes exactly, and then we'll check what it looks like. 4 to 6 minutes, and it should change color, increase in volume, and the consistency gets lighter and fluffy. And whilst we're at it, why did I forget that we need vanilla in here? So there's vanilla. Right, I'm gonna go cream. Just clear the bowl, as in scrape it round to make sure that everything is mixed together nicely. We don't want an unincorporated mix here where the batter or the fat is not creamed all together and you have bits of it everywhere. Okay, so just making sure that everything is in the bowl will help a lot. Now with that in, let's go back to creaming this. So it's exactly 6 minutes in and it's time to add the eggs. Now we have 275 grams of eggs here, but normally you'll want to beat the eggs and add it. I have some different ways I add the eggs depending on what I want to achieve. So first of all, I'm going to add some of the yolks here. The 275 grams of eggs here is about 5 large eggs altogether. And so I'm going to start with about 3 yolks. Now the yolks are not separate from the eggs. It's just the way I am adding them in to enhance emulsification before the other ingredients go in. So I'm going to start with 1 egg and then 1 egg yolk. We'll let that cream together. And then we have the 2nd egg yolk, and then we have the 3rd egg yolk. And then when that is gone in, I am going to now beat the rest of the eggs, which will be added in separately. Now that the egg yolks are mixed in to enhance emulsification, I'm going to just scrape all that in. And a good tip, when the egg yolks go in, you realize it gets really lighter and it looks very creamy, and it increases in volume as well. So bear that in mind. I'm just going to let that cream for 2 minutes with the egg yolks only before we add the eggs. Now, after 2 minutes of the egg yolks mixing in, we're going to add the rest of the eggs. Okay, now that all the eggs are gone in, what I'm going to do is again make sure I scrape everything in the bowl together and then let it mix before we add the flour. Okay, the eggs are mixed in, and the good thing is that if you want to know how the consistency of your eggs and base fat looks like, we don't have brokenness here. The texture is just slightly like cottage cheese like, but unlike sometimes when things are not mixed together, you'll have some of the eggs seeping down into the base of the bowl and the mixture looking like it's curdled. We don't have that here. So that's a good sign that our mixture or batter is emulsifying correctly. Now we're going to start by adding the self-raising flour. Mind you, again, we're not using baking powder or baking soda here simply because I am using self-raising flour. Now, if you're going to be making cupcakes, this has to be adapted slightly. But again, I'll leave notes in the description box for your convenience. Okay, so as always, I try to do the mixing on the mixer. And that is because this mixer specifically has a fold function, which is the lowest setting on here. It is just to allow the mixing of things that are slightly delicate, and also for the mixing of flour into batter to ensure that you don't overdevelop the gluten. Of course, if you don't have that function on your mixer, what you need to do is at this point in time slow your mixer down to its lowest setting possible, just in time so that you can add the flour. Possibly just to kind of cut away the faff, I'll encourage probably hand mixing at this point and then swapping back to the mixer to finish things off. So not much going on. I'm just going to add that in one go, and that's all we have. Now I am going to stop the mixing now and use the spatula to get the mixing finished before I probably get this all done. By the way, in my flour is a touch of salt as well, so bear that in mind. The flour has about 5 to 7 grams of salt. A good sign that your batter is going to be great is how it tastes, and yeah, I love the taste of this. Now we're going to divide this into 2 5-inch tins because the cake I'm going to be making is going to bake tall. These are the PME 4-inch deep pans. Okay, these are 5 inches in diameter and they bake 4 inches deep. let's wait and see. Now, normally you slam this on the surface to pop up any extra air bubbles. And one last thing that I do to help is make sure you level the surface of your bake and then create a hole in the middle, especially for a 4-inch deep bake. The goal is to flatten the surface to enhance an even bake, and then you dig in the middle because your bake bakes outside in, so you want to create a space so that when it pushes the batter it falls on the inside, which will help give you a level bake over there. What's the timestamp? Maybe 55 minutes to an hour, but in terms of texture, super light. Let's flip it over. What an amazing, right? Ooh, okay. It's baked tall though, and the results are, our cakes have baked well, and after taking them from the pans, this is the result we have. Well, I'm only picking on it so that we can make sure that we get to the crust, which is light and delicate.